Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Nick's Drive. Forgot to do an intro for this video, so here it is. Today we're going to reinstall the motor back into the AW11 MR2. All you got to do is reverse all these steps to remove it. I have taken what I believe to be a lot better video than I had when I removed the motor, just because I got a better camera. So without further ado, let's get to today's episode. Now to get the motor in the rear of the car, you're going to have to somehow either take your front bumper off or get your front end high enough that your bumper won't hit the ground, because you're going to lift the rear end of this car real high. So what I do is I just drag the front end of it up. It's not safe, but I've used jack stands before in the front, but this is how I do it now. I got these little wheel dollies. What I'll do is I'll put the wheel dollies under the wheels. I'm actually borrowing these from a buddy. So that raises the front end off the ground high enough, and it's safe too because it won't fall forward or backwards off the jack stands, that you can lift your front end or lift your back end up enough and get your front end close enough to the ground that you can get the motor under the car. Now this isn't proper, nor is it relatively safe to do. I'd recommend to have a buddy do it, but I've done it on my other car quite a few times, so I'm pretty familiar with it. Now if your bumper's in a lot better condition than mine, which it probably is, and the paint's all nice and dandy on it, you're going to want to remove your rear bumper. You can't get the rear end high enough to roll the motor under the car with your typical jack stand. So what I do is you got your tow hooks on the back of the car here, and I've got this little setup here, and this is enough. All this stuff right here is rated for, I want to believe, 10,000 pounds. I remember when I bought it, it was good enough to hold just about anything. So, but anyways, I don't even know what this is. This is a little 3/8 inch bolt kind of thing, and what I do is, because the hooks won't fit on my other car, is it just screws right back in just like that. And I'm going to shorten this up a little bit so I don't have as high to go. Now to protect the paint from what little bit I have here, I take a towel and I'll wrap it around the chain, just so it doesn't put extra scratches on my scratched and rotted paint already that I have. Now jack it up slowly. Now I didn't quite know if that was going to fit under the car with the tire on or not, and it doesn't. So I removed the tire and I'm going to kind of glide the motor in through here. I got it on some cheap old Harbor Freight dollies. Alright, so now that I moved the cardboard out of the way, should have moved the cardboard out of the way first. But this part I'm doing right here is the reason why it's good to have two people. One person on the jack and one person finagling the motor, trying to get it to line up with the motor mounts. I got the passenger side lined up with the bolt in already. I'm just trying to get that driver's side in, that single bolt over there. Alright, so we're under the car here, and the autofocus seems to be working quite well. I don't have a speed sensor in yet, so I got a towel in there. But this rear mount right here, it needs a bolt through it. I think the bolt's sitting up there, up near the front. Something you want to do is see that bolt right in the middle of the screen right there. You want to make sure that one's tight along with the other one. That's your motor mount bolts. Up front here, where that's at, let's see here, yeah, right there. See the two bolts inside that? That is where your front motor mount bolts up, and you got to remove it just like that, just like it is, and it will mount. Oh, coming on under here. It mounts to your transmission right there. So if you can see that, that's where it mounts to. You're going to have to do that, and then I'll be back under here and show you all the shifter cables and whatnot. If you're OEM, right there, that's your oil cooler, I'm assuming. My oil cooler just went straight from the oil cooler straight to the pan without going through that line. So I'm gonna leave it like that. I think the previous owner did that. So yeah, I'll be back in just a minute with the other stuff. Now, something I want to share with you guys. You see this right here? Alright, so something I want to tell you guys. You guys see this right here? This is one of the clips that holds on the shifter cables. I'll show you where this goes. Okay. So you see this right here? This is where it goes. And that's where it would have been when you took it off, right here. And it just kind of slides on in there. Sometimes you might have to give it a little bit of persuasion. Not much. But you gotta give a lot of persuasion to get it out. You've got two of those. You've got one there. And you've also gonna have one here. So I've got this shift linkage actually. This shift linkage right here is caught up under this one, so I'm going to take this one back out to get it around. But this one goes here and does the same thing with this little lip on my fingernail. Okay, so besides the axles yet, I don't have any of this tightened down yet either. I can't get this lined up, so I'm going to try to figure this out in a minute. I'm probably just going to put a jack on it here and jack this side up because this is lower than this side. So hook your rear motor mount up. There's your front motor mount. You're gonna have to break these two bolts in here loose, right here. Break this one loose right here, the big one that goes through it. And you've got two bolts in the bracket here. You got to take that bracket off. This is your slave cylinder bracket. You've got two 12mm up top on the slave cylinder. And then there's the two clips that I was showing you with the shifter linkages or shifter cables. So I've got the fuel filter there that I replaced, but don't need to talk about that now. When you put this together, you will probably put the axles in at this time, but for me, I'm not going to do that yet. I've got other stuff that I want to do first. And then I've got tie rods. I've got new tie rods to replace these. These are shot. Woo, can't focus. These are shot like crazy. Both of them are the same. So, yeah, they're no good. So yeah, got all that done, and now I'm going to take you up top and show you everything you need to get done up there. Now I believe I got everything buttoned up in the motor, or the top part of the motor at least. You're going to have to take off your air box with your mass airflow sensor plug in here. Quite a few vacuum lines you're going to have to take off. There's an EGR system right here that you're going to have to remove. You need to take off your heater line hoses, which is these two. And then below that is your coolant hose. You need to take your fuel line off that's right there on the fuel filter. Speed sensor. I'm not going to have the speed sensor in mine because I don't have a speed sensor in this yet. The speed sensor off the old transmission broke. You're going to have to take apart this, which you just saw me to put back together. So take it apart the opposite way that I just put it together. Now, on this other side here, you got quite a few things you're going to have to do. There is your passenger side motor mount down there. This is your igniter with your coil pack, the green wire and the blue wire there. You're both going to have to take both of those off. You're going to take off the white wire and the green wire here, the white wire and the green wire. They go to your, one goes to your dizzy, the other one goes to your fan, comes off the wiring harness that goes through here, timing cover. Your brake booster line has to come off here too. Here's where your grommet comes in from your engine harness. This is still your engine harness. And it comes in here in the trunk. Hooked up to the body harness here, a circuit open relay, 3 to your ECU, 1 to your cooling fan ECU, and another to your trunk light. All those you have to unhook to be able to pull this out of this grommet. So don't forget to unhook all those before you drop your motor, or else you'll be needing a new engine harness. So working my way from the back, I went ahead and I put this bolt in now. I don't think I did in the previous video, but I unhooked these at first. I'm about to replace these anyway. These are the rear tow rods. Obviously, because this one's bent anyways, and these bend a lot. Matrix Garage, I think, is where I'm going to order them from. It's about $180 shipped to my door for a brand new pair of them, so that's good. I unhooked the ball joint down here also, but you don't have to do that because I didn't undo it to put these back in, put these axles back in. So what I did was I put them in on the wheel side, the spline, and then on this side I compressed this. I compressed this and got it around these screws here. So you can see right there, got it around these bolts, I guess. And then I put the nuts back on it, had the wife hold the brake while I tightened them all down. So that's all good now. So I did all that. Your transmission drains here. Your transmission fill is up here in the front. Well, let's see if I can get a light on that for you guys. Your transmission fill is right here, up front. It's not too far from the bottom of the trans. It's right here though. You want to make sure this brake's loose before you drain your transmission. Definitely. I don't know if I showed these or not. These are the shifter linkages. Here's your bottom one, then you got a top one. You gotta put those back in. And you have your oil cooler lines. Now I'm trying to get some good footage here. There you go. And you have your oil cooler lines. One's right here, and the other end's up here. and they actually both go on these two. But the previous owner bypassed it, so I'm just gonna leave it that way. Because I don't know if the oil is leaking into the coolant. Because if it is, then that means coolant's gonna be leaking out of here. So that's something I'm gonna have to watch out for, and see why the previous owner did that. But I've got the O2 sensor just kind of sitting on this because I don't have an exhaust on this car yet. As you can see, the O2 sensor is right there. The exhaust has a little bar hanging out of it that goes in this, that holds it in, and it also bolts up to the back of the motor, on this side of the, on the oil pan side of the axle. And then there's these 4 bolts. There's 2 bolts over here, and there's 2 bolts over here. So all I did was I removed this bracket from the other side, and then I just pulled this out, the little bar, the hanger bar, out on this side to drop this exhaust. So that's about it for getting the motor in and out of the car. I hope I didn't miss anything. If I did, let me know. Drop it down in the comments so other people know also. I've got the brakes to do on this car still, and I'm just shaking my head. You guys gotta see this. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's sleeting outside. There it is. You can see it on the blue. It's March 20th, first day of spring, and it's sleeting here in southern Illinois. That's typical though. But anyways, as always, please like this video if you did. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any more content. Still got the brakes to do on this car, and actually I still got to replace the valve cover gaskets because I never did that because I'm going to use the valve covers off the parked car instead of having to paint these. So yeah, stay tuned and we'll get the brakes done on this car eventually. I'm going to roll it out because I got another job coming in pretty soon, and I'll see you next time.